Hi guys, and welcome back to another video on the Hunts and Bunks channel. Today we're going to be talking many different talking points. So we're going to be going through City versus United, which has recently just finished 3-1 to City, thankfully. And
What a
then
shame.
we're going to be we're going to be going through some of our predictions for the Champions League, the next Champions League game week as well.
Yeah. I think the first place to start has to be that City game. Rashford scored an absolute belter, 8 minutes in? Thought, oh, come on. Great start. Then City do what City did, and they just turned the cog throughout the first half and to the second. You knew the goal was coming, and it did in emphatic fashion through Foden. Two great goals in that game, I think. Foden then scored a second to take the lead, and there was no turning back from that point. There was only going to be one winner after about the 10th minute when City started turning the cog. United didn't put a foot in the game, didn't really touch City after their goal. City just tired them out, won the space. And it's unfortunate for the title race because we've had two teams who are not related to Arsenal who have come back from dropping points in dramatic fashion. Obviously, Rashford scoring so early on was probably a negative for United because it meant that while they had something to hold on for the whole game, whereas if they scored in sort of the 40th minute, then maybe you could see a different result. That said, Foden was brilliant, scored two great goals, and Haaland equally scored a very nice finish when the game was dead at that point.
Yeah, yeah, completely right. United, I mean, there was a chaotic start to the game, sort of 10 or 15 minute period where it was one of the most open games I've seen at the Etihad in quite a while. And it was just going back and forth, back and forth. City, in that period, it was almost guaranteed for there to be a goal for one side or the other. But yeah, we just couldn't finish our chance early on. And like you say, even though there was a lot of frustration around the ground with sort of, oh, we're going in at half time, 1-0 down, it was one of those where we were playing really good football. It's just we just weren't converting our chances. I mean, there was the Haaland chance where he literally fluffed it almost on the goal line just because he hasn't put his head on it rather than getting a bit confused and going with a side-footed finish. And there were a few others as well, a few chances where De Bruyne just whipped it in and there's no one getting on the end of it. But yeah, we just completely dominated. And despite other than the goal for United, there wasn't really quite a typical United performance against City. There was no sort of real
Awful is
pattern
what it
of
was.
play. There was nothing really there, and the goal almost, like you say, you could say it was a bit of a hindrance because they were playing quite expansive football and they made the start of the game chaotic for us. But the early
The
goal,
best thing,
they just held
the
on.
best thing United could do is get rid of Ten Hag tonight.
Tonight, do you reckon straight away? Do you
Yeah,
think it's worthwhile doing it? Do you not reckon it seems a little bit reactionary? I know obviously it's a long period of time.
no, because I've been saying they should have got rid of him from game one of the season. He's awful. There's
Hmm.
no actual like when Arteta was at his worst, for example, case in point, you could always see the shoots of growth of what he was trying to achieve. Ten Hag doesn't have any sort of policy, any sort of there's no trajectory for him. His pure thing is he's a disciplinarian and won't take shit. But then he's kept Rashford coming back into the fold after Rashford's given him shit. So
Yeah,
like it doesn't really make sense. I think they need to get rid of him tonight. They need to bring in someone that they can actually build the club around, or even at the end of the season, bring in Nagelsmann, someone they can like focus on for years and build a project and build a dynasty. Because United are not going to get back to the way they should with Ten Hag because he's simply not good enough. Ideally, United, what they would have done is when Pep became available back before he joined City, when was that? 2016. You just you United, you just go for that level of manager. It doesn't matter if you got Louis Van Gaal, David Moyes. None of these managers are good enough. It's United. They've always had the best managers, so you get the best manager. They can't now because Klopp's Liverpool and um, City is City is Pep. So they're both rivals. So your next step is to bring in the best project man. They can't get Arteta, despite what Ferdinand said. There's no way he'd join. So who is the youngest manager out there who they can build around? Nagelsmann. It's simple.
yeah, yeah. It is one. I do completely agree with what you're saying. There is no real product there. I was listening to the radio on the way back from the game actually, and it's very true that. even though Ferguson is a big there's no comparisons to be made in terms of any
No,
likes between the two. But with Ferguson, there were lots of players in that team that you could argue wouldn't, or many of the teams that he had that wouldn't get into the top sides now. But because of the
exactly.
way the team was structured and the way that the team all worked together in terms of his philosophy, it all worked very well. But with United, even though they do have a few
Yeah, John. Like you only have to
quality
look
players,
at
they shouldn't be sticking out as much
you
as
only
they
have to
are.
look at Wes Brown. Yeah, you only have to look at Wes Brown, John O'Shea, Darren Fletcher, to name a few. Very good players in their own right, but they aren't the elite of the elite. They aren't like the level of, say, if you want to look in today's comparison, you go Rodri, or they're not in the same level as, not even the same ballpark, but because United has such good individuals of quality as well as a team ethic, they got their level sort of went higher. It's a bit like Arsenal. In my opinion, individuals wise, Arsenal do not have the quality of Salah, the quality of Alisson, the quality of Rodri, the quality of whoever, Haaland, KDB. They've got players, they've got certain individual special players, Erdegaard, Saka, etc. But what brings them up to the level to be able to compete at the moment is that they're more of a team than the other teams that they're against. Um, Especially, for example, when I look at Arsenal, they're more of a team than City are. But City have the better individuals and the better players and the better talent and maybe the better manager. Well, definitely the better manager. I'm chatting on my ass. But yeah, so I think it is a massive factor, and that's just part and parcel of it. Obviously, there were years when United had the best team in the league as well. For example, the Tevez, Rooney, Ronaldo front line, like without a doubt. But there were also years where they won the league without having the best players. And those best players, those people who weren't the best players, were usually stalwarts in that team because they were united through and through, so to speak. And that's what United need to get back to. They need to they need to form an identity, a team and an identity. So Ten Hag to me needs to go. City were always going to win that game, so it wasn't really that surprising. It's gut wrenching that United went 1-0 up and held on for three-quarters of the game, but it was always going to happen. But then let's go on to the second part. We want to discuss the Champions League.
Yeah.
Obviously, 4 games in midweek. I'll let you take it away and start the predictions.
So we've got Real Sociedad versus PSG and Bayern versus Lazio on the Tuesday. So I'll start with the Sociedad PSG game. Sociedad an interesting one because I don't know if you remember from video quite a while ago when we did our Champions League underdogs thing. I did put Real Sociedad down, and at that point, I'll admit it was quite an easy thing to say because of how well they were already doing in the group. But since then, in La Liga, they're doing really poorly. They're quite some distance away from the top four now, and the first leg against PSG is really not covered themselves in glory at all. They're 2-0 down after the first leg,
Yeah.
and even though they are at home, I don't see them. I don't see them progressing after this. Personally,
No.
I think. Personally, I think it will be quite a tight game, being at Sociedad, being in San Sebastian.
Ooh.
But I think it's going to be a draw this game. I think it'll be a 1-1 draw in this game.
So I think it's going to be 3-0 to PSG.
Wow.
And I think it's going to be 5-0 on aggregate, obviously. I think that PSG, they are such a yin and yang side. They've got the stars, they don't have the team ethic. Mbappe, but I just think that they've got too much for Sociedad at this point. Sociedad are in a bit of a low place in terms of the league. So I think it's going to be comfortable for PSG to get the result in this game. So I say 3-0. Touching on the second game, you mentioned obviously Lazio beat Bayern 1-0 in a surprise result in the last leg. In this game, I believe Bayern will win 2-1. It will go to extra time, go to penalties, and Bayern will win on penalties. And that's my prediction. The Harry Kane curse will play on everyone's mind, which will make Bayern not perform to the level that they should do. And they'll win. They'll win on penalties, though. Scrape through.
Yeah, it's an interesting one, Bayern, isn't it? Because they've been obviously struggling so much in the Bundesliga, just sneaking past Leipzig and then drawing
Yeah,
against
but it's
Freiburg.
because Tuchel's shite. It's nothing
Yeah,
to do with the players. Tuchel is awful. He's been awful everywhere he went. He just likes to play defensive, solid football. That's how he managed to scrape a Champions League. But in terms of the actual like managerial, everywhere he goes, he sort of leaves a car crash. Even at Dortmund, it wasn't really happy behind the scenes. He is one of the most overrated managers in Europe, similarly to Pochettino. But that's a biased one because he's Spurs, but and Chelsea. But yeah, no, Tuchel is awful. He is awful. They need to get rid.
How you can
Get
mess it up with that Bayern side? Genuinely,
exactly. Just
look at the players
honestly, if
he's
they
got
get
at his
Xabi
disposal.
Alonso, if they got Xabi Alonso next season instead of Liverpool, or even if they get anyone half decent, they could get De Zerbi for all I care. They'll walk the league.
Yeah. You'd expect them to be doing it anyway. I mean, no, take nothing away from Bayer Leverkusen. They've been brilliant, but it's just some of the results they've been getting, sort of going ahead in games and then collapsing. It's just been they've got all the marks
Yeah.
at the side that's can't you can't rely on in the long run, and that's why they find
Did
themselves 10
you
points behind.
did you see that when Xhaka scored the screamer for Bayern his first goal and he did the pull up celebration and Xabi Alonso was like, "Whoa!" That made me
Yeah.
laugh.
Yeah, but yeah,
Right.
not sure. I'm thinking about so for this one. I think it's going to be tight. I mean, Lazio, you can expect, as of many Italian side of the past, away at Bayern Munich, they're going to be defending deep, trying to catch them on the break in this game. I do think Bayern will progress. I do think they will. Um, and I think they'll do it 2-0. And I think they'll just go through, obviously, in normal time because it's 1-0 after the first leg.
The thing that could go against Bayern in this game and also future games in the Bundesliga. I mean, I think Bayer Leverkusen have probably won the Bundesliga at this point. They're what 11, 12 points ahead or whatever it is. Um, the fact that Tuchel is known to be leaving when a manager isn't Jurgen Klopp, so isn't
Yeah.
embedded in the club to the point where everyone loves the man, so they're trying to give him the fairy tale ending. With a person like Tuchel, who you've got to believe from the results this season, the players don't necessarily love.
Yeah.
And though he's leaving at the end of the season, they're only playing for pride and they're only playing for Bayern Munich. They're not actually playing for that extra bit that can get players motivated to play better. They're not playing for the man. They're not playing for the manager
Yeah.
because they know he's gone. So that could go against them, and you could maybe even see Lazio progress here. I don't think any result really shocks me in this one. I just thought 2-1 to Bayern on the night and then them win on penalties would be quite typical compared to like the performances that they've had this season, compared to everything going on at the club. But yeah, that was my thoughts anyway.
Yeah. I think the thing, like you say there, player when you've got a manager leaving at the end of the season and you already know it, it's one of those
Yeah.
where you think players who might be looking for a move or players who are running down their contract, you do wonder how that plays into the way they're playing on the pitch. Because if they know they're going anyway and they know they've not got to impress this manager who's going to be here next season, you do wonder if certain players are giving it 110% every week when they've got that
Yeah.
guaranteed exit door and they don't want to get injured, for example. Do wonder.
Yeah, no, exactly. Exactly. We'll move on to England, a match taking place at the Etihad then. City 3-1 victors last time out against Copenhagen. Um, Surely this is an opportunity for them to rest their key players, play the kids, just
Yeah.
cruise past Copenhagen. I think 2-0 is my prediction. I think City will probably play what, three first team starters, maybe four, but they're definitely not going to risk the likes of Haaland because of his injuries. I don't think they're going to play KDB because of his injuries. You probably see Grealish is injured. You'll probably see Foden start. I think you might see like one or two of the backline start as usual, but I don't think, for example, Edison will play because Pep is traditionally very cup keeper orientated. Whereas, so you'll see the deputy come in there, but I think they'll have too much for Copenhagen, even with a B team and youngsters. So I think they'll win 2-0 and they'll progress. On aggregate 5-1, is that? Yeah, five. They won 3-1, didn't they? So yeah, I think City will progress easily. They got the favourable draw again, as tradition states with City. Give them the easy draw in
Hold
every
on.
cup competition.
Last year we beat Bayern and Real on the way to the final. So we have.
Listen, when you get to the semi, then yeah, fair game. But before that, you just had weak as piss opponents get into that final.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Yeah. You're completely right. Yeah, I think Rico Lewis, Oscar Bob, these will be players that we'll see during this
Yeah.
game. I never really back City's defense to keep a clean sheet, almost especially at home, because we're slightly more exposed because we're not trying to keep control of the
If
game.
you don't keep against Copenhagen at home, then you're basically just like giving up a goal to Farmers. So
We conceded away from home. I think we might do it again here, especially with a couple of players rotated. But yeah, I think it'll be 3-1 again, actually. I think we'll go through 6-2 on aggregate. I think
okay.
it's a good chance for
Um,
us to get a few players in. Doku has not been great recently. Hopefully, it's a chance for him to get a bit more confidence as well.
okay, so what about Real Leipzig?
Yeah, it's an interesting one that Real just this week. It was yesterday actually, just drawn against Valencia in
Oh,
controversial
do you see?
manner.
Oh, that was
Oh,
mental.
awful, awful. They should have won that in if you actually look back at the game. But yeah,
Jude got sent off for swearing at the ref.
yeah,
I tell you what, this is some niche knowledge. It reminds me of, and I bet you don't know about this game, but about 3 years ago, Accrington Stanley scored a goal in the last second of the game, and the referee blew the full time whistle once the shot had left the player's foot and it was on its way to the goal. Like, I'm not joking. Like, the guy genuinely hit it, and he blew the full time whistle after he'd hit it, but before the ball had hit the back of the net. And and Stanley didn't get obviously the goal to win them the game, and that was like mental. So it's similar vibes to that, to be honest. But it's absolutely disgraceful. That said, personally, I think Real will win 2-1 against Leipzig and go through 3-1 on aggregate. They're just going to have too much. Like, that team is star studies. You think back to the Galacticos, they are basically the Galacticos again, and they're going to add Mbappe to that. They'll probably add Haaland in 2 years. They're also looking at probably adding Alphonso Davies. Like, it's going to be mental. Imagine when they have a front three of Vinicius Junior, Haaland, and Mbappe. It's disgusting.
like something off FIFA. It's like a career mode and just unlimited
And then,
money.
and now, do you want to know what pisses me off? They're the bloody buggers who want to have this European Super League. Oh, we need money. Fucking, and they can buy the whole world of players, but they want more money to be able to finance it, even though they've already done it. Cats out their backside. They have so much money, and they've got all the players to prove it.
Yeah, they
Leave
are.
some for the other people. Leave some for the 115 charge Man City.
Yeah, I'm not going to
God's
comment. I'm
sake.
not going to comment on the team spending a lot of money and getting success because I've got no moral ground to stand on there, being a Man City fan. But yeah,
Yeah, but no, you can't. No, that's not how it works. That isn't how it works because you're a fan of a club. The club just happened to be successful and very immoral and cheats. But you can still have your opinion on other footballing teams and how they do their business. Like, it's not hypocritical for you to say Florentino Perez is awful in how he runs his club because he's a greedy little scumbag, as long as you admit that City are equally greedy little
yeah,
scumbags.
no,
You can still comment on other.
no, yeah, okay, fair enough, and I agree. I agree with both sides of what you've just said.
Because at the end of the day, Arsenal are obviously better than 115 charges, but they did also equally join the Super League. Granted, they were the first in England to leave, but still, they're not from a moral standpoint. That it was awful, and they do it technically employ a rapist, allegedly. So, like, there are still things that like Arsenal are horrendous for, but I
Yeah.
can still think like Real. That's why I don't. That's why I don't get Liverpool fans. And this is just a rant out of the blue. Don't get me wrong, but like they're all like, oh, they play the moral high ground. This is Liverpool. This is the club. Oh, we're all the people's club. Oh, most supported fans. Oh, yeah. If anyone says anything bad against Liverpool, anything bad, you get shot in the head. But then they equally had back Suarez with t-shirts when he was a racist in the Prem. Like the whole squad just wore Suarez back up t-shirts when he, what was it, the bloody racist slander that he gave. Was it Patrice Evra? I think he said it
Yes,
to.
it was, yeah.
Yeah, like the club is a mess from the bottom upwards because every Premier League football club is a mess, and that's not me attacking Liverpool per se. I mean, it is slightly, but like Chelsea, they had the incident with the fans on that train. Like every big club in the Prem is disgusting. Every big club everywhere is disgusting. Like they're just all money centric. All football fans are vile. Well, not all of them, but every set of fans has a vile part of the fan base or some vile history within the club. Like Chelsea, racist. Arsenal, very questionable player on the books at the moment. City, 115 charges, like everything. Liverpool, backing Suarez, even employing Suarez, to be fair. Tottenham, oh, they're just Tottenham, aren't they? They're a bit disgusting. I mean, the fans are pretty bad, like in terms of the fights they have, but it is what it is. No one really cares about Tottenham. They're at Tim Pot. Who are the others? Liverpool have done. United, I mean, United are just disgraceful. Like every little Fergie disciple can't manage because all he wanted was passion, and they just paid the refs off for 10 years. So, like, I mean, every single club has their own little thing, and yeah, that's it. And then,
Right.
so yeah,
Back to Real Madrid predictions. So
oh, yeah.
for, for Real Madrid, yeah, I think that at the Bernabeu you can't back against them in any way. I mean, being a City fan, I know better than anyone that you can never write them off in a Champions League second leg at the Bernabeu. So I think they'll get past Leipzig fairly easily, but I think a 3-1 again. Actually, I've gone for that a few times now, but I think you'd
Is there
expect
any?
Leipzig
Is
to
there any
score.
like? Is there any way that Leipzig win this game, in your opinion?
Well, Leipzig do have some good, promising players. I mean, you look at Xavi Simons; he'll be definitely back on PSG's books next season. He's been doing well.
Yeah, but
Append,
do you see a world where they progress? Because I don't. I'm just putting it out there. Like Real have that prestige.
very
Real have
difficult.
Real.
It's very difficult. It's almost even I know Leipzig are a lot better than Copenhagen, but with it being at the Bernabeu, it's almost as one-sided as the City Copenhagen one for me.
I think it's more the fact that it's Real as well.
Yeah, I really can't. The only way I could see them doing it is if they somehow snuck a goal late on after defending
Yeah.
with good solidity, and then maybe nicking it in extra time. But in normal time, I really don't see them beating Real Madrid by 2 goals at the Bernabeu. It's
Thing is, I'd love it if they did get knocked out Real, but then at the same time, it's not going to matter to us because we'll lose to Porto next week. So
you should be beating Porto at home.
I think we should get through. I think we should get through. I mean, it's only 1-0. They're coming to the Emirates,
Yeah.
but at the same time, I don't know. Football's football. It's less surprising. Let's put it this way: it's less surprising if Porto get a result than if Leipzig get a result.
Yeah, I agree with that.
So we'll see.
Yeah.
I'd actually say no, I'd say it's more surprising if Sociedad get one than Porto though. So I don't know. We'll move. But yeah. Anyway, is that everything?
I think we've covered everything. So, as always, let us know what your predictions are for the games we've discussed today. And if anything that Thomas has mentioned in his rant is something you agree with or massively disagree with, put it down in the comments below as well, because I'll be interested to hear what all of you guys have got to say about all the
No, no,
topics.
no, no, no. Let's have it right. Let's have it right. Everyone who has an opinion. I'll tell you in the comments. I promise. I'll tell you why you're wrong about that opinion. But put it in there unless you're correct about the opinion. But I'll be active. I'll take all the slack from
They'll
the
delete your
Liverpool fans who
comment,
are like,
and then there'll be no proof.
but leave your comment, put your opinion down, and when I respond, hit that subscribe button. There we go.
Right. Perfect.
Bro.
Thank you very much for watching today, and we'll see you all in the next video.